If you know anything about single-family property management companies, to your point about the frustration and maybe not doing the best job, no one has time to do that. They are so busy. The last thing they have is an extra minute to be filing claims.
My guest today is Tanya O'Dell. She's an SFR industry expert and specialist who understands how portfolios scale, how organizations grow, and how institutional expectations meet on the ground.
Even if something else is going to save you time, money, and all that, it's tough to change. Companies across the country, a lot of them get it. They need it, but it's the aspect of actually making that change that is scary. You're single moms who are on one income. Something happens and you have to go and spend 2 weeks in a hotel. So that can be pretty financially devastating. Who is helping your resident in your resident's worst crisis? Do you want that to be a chatbot, or do you want that to be somebody who's trained to help you?
Well, welcome back to Inside the Vendor Network, an EverResi original series where we go beyond the logos and job titles to spotlight the people, the platforms, and the partnerships shaping how the single-family rental and build-to-rent industry actually works. This show exists because this industry doesn't move on headlines. It moves on execution, relationships, and trust built over time. This episode is brought to you by Palisade. Palisade designs grout-free, waterproof wall panel and shower systems that help operators build and renovators deliver durable, high-performance spaces without the maintenance headaches. Built for efficiency, longevity, and real-world performance across SFR and BTR portfolios. Thank you, Palisade, for your continued support. Today's conversation is one I am genuinely excited about. My guest today is an EverResiMedia team member, family member is what we call each other, and the co-host of the SFR She-Suite, and a respected SFR industry, Ms. Tanya O'Dell. Tanya has earned her voice in this industry by sitting in multiple seats. She's held leadership and growth roles at Altisource, Lafayette, and Home River Group, just to name a few. Working across property management from SFR property management acquisitions, developing scalable growth models, multi-market expansions, institutional partnerships, and capital-driven strategies. She's an SFR industry expert and specialist in my book. Someone who understands how portfolios scale, how organizations grow, where operators break down, and how institutional expectations meet on the ground in reality. So today, Sonia serves as Regional Vice President of Sales at ePremium Insurance Agency, where she brings that full operator lens into how insurance, risk, and compliance should actually function in rental housing. And here's an important distinction. ePremium doesn't exist to simply help owner-operators check a compliance box. It exists to provide real peace of mind, protecting owners and operators while also offering solutions that genuinely protect residents. That balance matters, and it's one of the most overlooked components of sustainable growth in this industry. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most overlooked NOI impactors in this industry, insurance, and how experience across multiple seats has led to better decisions for operators, investors, and residents who call these homes home. So let's get inside the vendor network. Tanya, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today.
Thank you, Yvonne. I am so excited to be here. I appreciate it.
No worries. It's a nice, cold February day, and I couldn't think of anything better to do than to get on with a co-member here at EverResiMedia. So hope everything's going well over there at the She-Suite. I'm loving what you and Mendy are doing over there.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a lot of fun, I will say that, and we've got some good guests and episodes coming up. So just a little teaser there.
So yeah. we won't give it all away today. So, Tanya, one of the things I like to do on my show is dive into a little bit more about you, because as you know, in this industry, it's not about necessarily the jobs that we have or the role that we're in, because those things are fluid and they can sometimes change. What hasn't changed is the value that you've brought to this industry. But before all of that, tell us a little bit more about you. I know you're very well connected. Tons of people know you, but believe it or not, there's a handful of people out there that don't know you, and I really want to give them that blessing today to get to know a little bit more about you and who you are. So share more with the audience about who you are.
Yeah. So within the SFR world, I took my first role in 2009. So it's been a minute. That company was rentals.com. So for those that have been around a while, probably remember. So we were servicing owner operators, property management companies by providing them, advertising and marketing for their available rental properties. This is pre-Zillow and all of that stuff. And ironically, the person that I work for now, my boss, Bob Clauser, I'll give him a shout out. He's the SVP of ePremium. I worked for him 15, 16 years ago, however long it's been, at rentals.com. Well, so I'll fill in the gaps a little bit, but just to, let you know how it comes full circle. But I've been a vendor, servicer, and for all the property management companies, as well as, you pointed out some of the property management companies that I worked for. I've worked internally within, the property management owner operator space as well. And so it's interesting to have that dynamic, and there's several of us within the industry that do. It became something that I missed, the aspect of working with and for servicing these property management companies across the country, and versus just working for one, right?
Sure.
So my relationships span across the country. All of these companies, I've sold websites to them, sitting in their offices, hearing their pain points. I don't know. I just started really missing offering a service that I can offer to all of them, right? Nationally, something that's going to alleviate some pain or give them like a great service or product that's going to create some revenue or just streamline efficiencies, etc. Well, I was interviewing with a couple of places, and then Bob reached out, right? So I was like, you know what? I think this is happening for a reason, and it realigned me the beginning of 2024 with my goal, which was, to take a role and begin like my passion, which is servicing these property management companies across the country. So that's a long, winded answer there, but I have loved being back in this role. And when I first talked about this, insurance, right? Like, what's more fun? I don't know, like having surgery without, control any kind of anesthesia. No, but
I think that's part of it, though. Like, I think, not to cut you off, but I think insurance, it is icky. It is like, it's not fun. It's not sexy. And I think what I just heard you say is like, that's where you show up with impact, right? Like, you like solving the hard problems and doing it within one property management company or one owner operator just wasn't scratching an itch for you. This allows you to solve multiple problems across the space and apply your experience that you've gotten over all that space and, heart to the vendor side, right? Like we get to kind of be involved with everyone.
Yeah, and having the knowledge and the experience of working within the property management company space, it really gave me an insight to the need for different types of renters insurance, and having those conversations with residents and with potential, investors. So I was able to see this opportunity and this product as with a different eye, right? Because I had been there and I had seen the need for tracking, the need for compliance and all of this stuff. And so it is great to be able to come out of that and say, okay, now I can solve a problem that, and if I'm honest, some property management companies don't realize how much of a problem that it is. And some do, and they just continue seeking, solutions that maybe aren't the best fit because they just don't know.
Yeah.
So I have been really, really excited to share what I consider and know as, a best in class product within this, insurance space. And while it, might not be fun, it's necessary.
Let's hold up and back up, because I know we love talking about work, but I want the audience to get to know you. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? I know that I know a couple things about you, but I'm not going to share. You share.
Yep. So let's see. I live now in Atlanta. I am a single mom of 3 amazing humans. My youngest is a senior in high school, in Norcross High School. So I'm on my way to being a little bit of an empty nester. But I grew up in a small town in Chickamauga, Georgia, Northwest Georgia, just between Dalton and Chattanooga. I've always been somebody that balances a lot of things, and has a lot of interest, very curious about different things, pivots pretty easily. 2 of my favorite things were always anything sports related and anything music related, right? So I spend my free time now. I love to go to live sporting events, live concerts. I would go for, you'll see me anywhere from Morgan Wallen to Kendrick Lamar, Taylor Swift, and everything
Genre.
yeah. Love to be outside. One of my secret passions is like human behavior. It's like same in psychology. So I spend some of my free time just I take personality tests for fun and strange things like that. Um,
What's the most unique thing you've learned about human behavior? We're gonna go a little off course, because I love them too. I'm DISC certified, and
okay.
like invested in that on my own, because that was something that would just really intrigued me. And I think it comes from a desire of really wanting to connect with people, um, and maybe self-awareness around how we may miss the mark sometimes. And just kind of wonder, like, why do people do that? How do people tick, or why do they tick like that? So what has been one of the most interesting things you've learned?
Well, I think really when you understand personality profiles, right, you're able to, whether it's in your personal life or your personal relationships, you're able to understand what the point makes someone tick. And then within your professional world, what seat are they in, right? So often, you know, if there was a director of compliance role somewhere within an operational space and I interviewed for it and I interviewed well and somebody put me in that role, that's really not where my niche is, right? My niche is, that's not where I'm going to thrive. So I feel like when you really understand that, because the same person that's good at transactions and analytics is not going to be good at public speaking or sales or, walking into a networking event and not feeling uncomfortable, et cetera. So
Maybe not long term, right? Like,
right.
we can adapt. I think what I've learned, one of the biggest thing is we can adapt, but when we adapt for long periods of time outside of our natural skill sets, it leads to burnout. And we show up people we're not naturally, because you're stressed. It causes stress. It causes friction, because I actually just did a podcast with Brendan Hammond, and he's like, it's like wearing a heavy trench coat, and you can do it for a little bit, but then later it gets real exhausting, and then you just end up flexing into something else. So I love that. I didn't know that part about you. You shared it before, but I didn't realize how deep that was. Whew, I'm glad.
Yeah. When I was in college, I wanted to be a sportscaster or a psychologist. So
Well, I think you're doing both. Now the SFR she suite. That's a contact sport. So it's kind of like this. So, all right. So you're from a town that I can't pronounce. What did you call it again in Georgia?
Chickamauga.
Chickamauga.
A small town. It was a Civil War battlefield. Yeah, so it was. It's a sweet place, but it's
You outgrew it. You've got too much to give this world, and we're grateful because you're in our world now. So, what's something people don't see on your LinkedIn profile? Maybe like what season of life are you in? Those are always good questions to ask. You said you're almost an empty nester. 50 and fabulous. That's what I'm talking about. I'm a month
that is my season of life. So
nuts.
this is my 2025. I turned 50 in 2025, and I cannot tell you, and I'm sure you know, like what a mind that is. I mean, it's like everything just changes a little bit, and your way of thinking changes. You just have a shift in your give a shit a meter and all of that, right? And it was my year of growth and my year to say yes. My fan's on, don't worry.
So
But yeah, it was just, I've always been, back to the personality. Every personality profile puts me really high in their resilience category, right? But there was something about this last year of just personal and professional growth. I learned so much about myself and self-awareness, but not only self-awareness, like being able to communicate to others where I'm at. And maybe if there were things that I did that I was a B player and not an A player in that moment. And being able to go to those people and say, you know what? I didn't show up as my best during this period of time. And then just get that off my chest and move on.
I think it also says something about the people you're around too, because who you're around, when you feel safe and you're around people that make you feel safe, you're more able to be vulnerable. But I think vulnerability is definitely in our 50s as women, as we get closer to older, and we become a little more established and say, no, I'm okay with me. And I know that about you, but not with a attitude or some ego or error of your way. You do it very authentically, and I think that's one of the things I love the most about you is I got to know you last year. I met you last year, and in a moment where I was kind of going through some things personally, job changes, new job, just trying to find my footing, and I think that being surrounded by friends like you made all the difference, and being able to say, "Hey, here's where I'm at today. I might not have showed up as great as I could have." Or not having that recognition and being surrounded by people who say, "Hey, you're not showing up like you should." You should.
Yes.
I'm okay with those. I prefer those type of people in my life.
Yeah.
I
agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so Tanya, you've sat in multiple seats across the SFR industry, but so I want to kind of get into that because I think that you spending time in these multiple seats, these different factors of the business and the operational functions of business, and getting to a place in your life where you're saying, "Hey, this is me. This is what I enjoy doing." For me, I work with a business coach, and that to me is becoming. We talk about learning and doing throughout our careers. And I think so many times we strive to become. And I don't think the become is ever like this finish line. I think we're learning and doing and learning and doing. And then we look up one day and we have become. And so here you are today. You've worn multiple hats in this industry. And you've moved into insurance, which isn't the most sexiest thing, but it is for you because it's allowing you to focus on an area and apply your skill set, scratch an itch for the things that you enjoy, and that's problem solving and leveraging the experience of wearing multiple hats. So, insurance is actually one of the most overlooked NOI impactors in the industry, yet it touches operator and it touches operations, compliance, resident experience, the whole shebang. Why is insurance so misunderstood in SFR?
Well, first of all, you have your insurance for your property management companies, right? That they have within themselves. They might have an umbrella policy for their structures, their properties that they manage. And then you have your third party management companies that have, they might have 200 properties and 150 different owners. And those owners have landlord policies, similar, which are similar to homeowners policies for the structure itself. But there was this gap between what do the residents do, right? And what happens if a resident causes damage to your property, or what happens to a resident that's renting a property and their couch catches on fire, or someone steals their purse, or their dog bites someone, or there were just all of these gaps within homeowner insurance or a landlord policy. And then there were products and policies that different people had tried to develop. But what I love is I get to focus on what benefits the property management company and the resident.
And that's a balance because there's a lot of compliance, right? So I know nothing about this space other than what you've been teaching me as we've become friends, and just by asking the questions on, me wanting to learn from you and what you do so I can help network and connect you. It was really eye-opening to me because I haven't rented. I rented for a short stint after I left my husband 6 years ago, and I rented a multifamily apartment. And I was shocked at that moment on all the options. I called USAA, my normal insurance company that I have all my other insurance through. And as a resident, I was like, do I need this? Do I need that? I didn't understand what values I really needed to get. Like, do I need 100,000? What would be covered? What would I be responsible for if I caused the fire in the building? Would I be responsible? Would my insurance cover? There were so many questions as a resident. I couldn't imagine as an owner operator. There's so many other factors because you have employees involved. There's risk exposure all over the place. And then you allow pets, don't allow pets. So let's unpackage this. So there's two different types of insurances out there. One that's going to cover the owner operator, and there's laws and compliance and things that people have to check some boxes on, right?
Yes. So what's called liability. So I offer two main products. One is a tenant liability policy, a master liability policy that goes through the property management company. So most companies, whether you're institutional or, third party, mom and pop, in your lease, 90% of them will say they require some type of insurance, right? Whether it be
A minimum expectation.
like we require at least $100,000 in liability, and we'll stop there because what that is for people that are unaware, liability is a liability policy covers the structure, the home, right? The home. So if I start a kitchen fire and
the roof, the shingle, the
structure itself, yes, and everything that's permanent within it, the railing, the walls, the doors,
the shower systems.
yes, and liability is the structure, and it is like accident. You can kind of use those words in tandem, right? If I accidentally drop a candle and it starts a fire, it's called negligence, accident, whatever. If I accidentally cause this as the resident, that is covered and it damages the structure that someone is managing for me. That is what the liability covers. And then you have what's called an HO4, which is a renter's insurance program. And this is true renter's insurance. This covers the personal property and belongings of the resident, right? You see how there's two lights, there's everything. Minute.
Yeah.
If you took the house, turned it over, and shook it upside down, everything that falls out of it is like the resident's personal belongings.
Gotcha.
So those are two different, just a little insurance education. Those are two different products, and that's what we focus on. And just to, give a premium level shout out here, that is all we focus on. So I know there's a lot of companies out there that maybe they're primarily a software company, or they're primarily a filter company, or they're primarily whatever they are. We do insurance, and that is what we do.
Yeah. We are experts in insurance.
Yes.
We stay laser focused in our lane.
That is our lane.
That is our lane. So where do you think operators think they're protected, but actually they're not?
That's a great question. So a lot of times, especially for like personal property, like if a fire happens and say you can include what's called contents coverage within a liability policy. So one of the requirements in a lease, it might say, we require that as a resident of 123 Property Management Company, that all residents have a minimum of $100,000 in liability and $10,000 in contents coverage. Because they, that checks a box for them. They have, it's $10,000. They have the resident, that it protects some of their belongings if that were to happen. But let me just say that when you package those together, when contents coverage is within a liability policy, remember what I said initially is the liability policies are for the property management company. They're in their name, right? So if you have contents coverage in there and then the fire happens and my couch is damaged, that property management company has to use their people, their time to file that claim, to work with the resident, say something happened and their refrigerator messed up. Like the property management company, some human is sitting there using their manpower, replacing all of the contents in their fridge. What kind of mustard do you want? I mean, seriously, we have examples of that, right? So you can imagine how time consuming that is for a property management company.
Well, not to mention, not all property management employees are equipped to handle that. If you think about the moment that the resident is in, I mean, this is DEFCON 4 potentially. Like if you have a fire or you have a catastrophic loss of some sort, they've just probably lost their entire home or their life or memories or, things that were important to them. Not ever going to be as important to the person helping them. They'll care, they'll be empathetic, but they may not also be equipped. And like you said, back to those personality assessments, what makes for a good leasing agent may not make for a good person. Like the profile might not align with walking someone through a major catastrophic loss or, life-changing event that happened to that resident. So your point is resident experience could be massively impacted and ultimately lead to poor resident experience, which can lead to bad reviews, bad reputation, and not because the owner-operator didn't do what they should do, and that's be within, compliant, check the box on the insurance. Also go a step further and say, hey, also there's contents insurance, which would almost seems like above and beyond. So are you walking us down a path here that those two things should really be separate?
In a perfect world, yes.
Yeah.
Because the difference is so this is how true renter's insurance works, right? So you're moving in and you're signing your lease, and the property management company is telling you in their lease that they require a minimum of $100,000 in liability. And And we have language and stuff that we can share with that company to, that approved and all of that.
The owner operator put the right language in their lease agreements that there's clarity and not ambiguity, because ambiguity is what leads to frustration for residents.
Yes. And, legal battles and claims and all of that. So, yes, very, very costly in every aspect of the word. So you're moving in and, often they'll say, we require that you have this. You can check this box right here or, and utilize our program. And this is what our program is. And maybe that's a preferred partner e-premium, or maybe it's someone else, because you can't mandate who someone uses for insurance. I will definitely want to make that statement. And maybe you charge a risk assessment or risk mitigation fee for that. And there's room for ancillary revenue in that too. And that's legal and compliant and all of that. And I'll get to that. But, or they can upload whatever other programs they have, right? If they use State Farm, Geico, it usually when you're moving in and you're reading through the lease, you can choose their way, or you can upload your own documents that support, as long as you meet those requirements, right? And then separate, keeping the renter's insurance and the liability separate, in my opinion, is great, because, then after that, you say, we recommend you have renter's insurance to cover your belongings and your property. It is a minimum, it's a minimal fee, right? It's literally, depending on where you live in the country, it's going to be somewhere between $14 and $24 a month for a substantial amount of renter's insurance. So if the resident opts in for that and they go through, it takes about 90 seconds to go through the quote process. 100% of all residents are approved with e-premium. Just let me state that too. 100%, not 98, not 97, 100%. Customizing a policy that works for them, and that policy is in their name. So that is between the resident and e-premium as far as invoicing, claims, and all of that. So the property management company does not have to utilize their manpower. And if you know anything about single family property management companies, the operations team and the property manager, the last thing they have is an extra minute in the day. Right? To be filing claims. And so to your point about the frustration and maybe not doing the best job of it, no one has time to do that.
Which is an impact to experience. Yeah.
And so
also they're not equipped. They're also not equipped. So I'm just imagining, a lot of leases are signed electronically these days.
Right.
And in business development, one of the things I've learned is setting expectation is the difference between later frustration, right? As long as you set the right expectation. So business development people are really good at setting expectation. Good ones are anyway. But a lot of this is done electronically these days, where they're just clicking the boxes. We've all got the DocuSign where I'm just like next, next, and you may not be really diving into these things. So if they're going through e-premium, or they're creating I'm guessing there's some onboarding that a resident is going to experience with you guys. They're going to get a welcome package. They're going to have a better experience with, like, oh, by the way, you're riding our shirt tails on our insurance. If something happens, here's where we'll be. You guys are going to provide some form of onboarding, right? Like, they're going to get a welcome email or a welcome packet. There's more information they're going to receive. Their experience in getting insurance and exposure and access to the information to make the good decision. And then most insurance companies I know got 24/7 phone number. Property management companies don't necessarily have a 1-800 number you call at 2 a.m, and ask.
Especially, sure, you have a maintenance, might have a maintenance, just a hotline. But so one thing about e-premium that's very, very important to us is we don't use chat. We don't have bots, right? So for all of your property management companies that are our clients, we have an account management team, and every single one of them, just like all of us, carry an insurance license. Everybody that works for ePremium has an insurance license. They're trained source work for the property management company. In the same fashion, we have a customer service team that is specific for the residents as well. So this group is trained on resident claims, how to handle resident situations. They're the ones that would be, what kind of mustard did you have in the fridge, right? We're going to replace that exactly as is for you. So it takes that load off of the property management company. They don't have to do that. And just like the account management team, they know what best serves the property management company and how to get the most out of those claims for the property management company. And the property management company is also an additional like an interested party on the renter's insurance for the resident. So they're allowed to make claims if needed, right? Which gives an extra like layer of protection when you're at move outs for, security deposit and all of that. Because there's claims with us, we have what's called enhanced endorsements. So like fire, for instance. Fire is not just, did a resident, cause a kitchen fire and their chairs burn up. If I was curling my hair like I did this morning and I sat the curling iron next to the wall and I left it on for 2 days and it burnt the wall, like that's heat. Heat is related to fire, which for us in our endorsements, that's covered. Cigarette burns on the carpet, right? That's a claimable event. So it just really helps, I guess, alleviate so much of the frustration and so much of what they have to take out of security deposit, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, because there's so many instances, like we had all the storms recently, right? And no one covers floods. Like no one does that. Just gonna say that unless you go get flood insurance, which you might as well, sell your soul to do.
It's going to be bad times, isn't it?
But yeah, like if there was a big storm and like a tree blew into the side, like a limb blew off and blew into the side of your house, and there's a hole in the wall, and then water got in, that's covered. It's just so much that people don't think of that's not like top of mind, that our team, our account management team, our customer service team, and our sales team, we understand how to communicate all that so that when you're filing a claim, you can make the most out of those claims.
See, I can see why this was a move that you wanted to make and why this role aligns with you and what I've seen you in this industry is really solving problems. And it's very customizable because there's no two properties the same.
Correct.
There's no resident base the same, right? The profile of your resident per se, or the risk of this property, everything's unique. So everything's individualized, and your experience across multiple hats and seeing different things in the industry, you're able to have conversations with your customers and owner operators and property managers to have real life conversations. Hey, let me share a story with you about what happened before. And it's not about, you're not saying, what I love about what you're talking about right now is the same thing like with my shower systems. Very rarely do I talk about how pretty my shower systems are, or the functionality and this, that, and the other. I talk about how it impacts the life of the trade that's installing it. I talk about the life of the field supervisor who has to manage the job. I talk about the resident experience on how many days it shaves off, what a leak in a shower looks like. So you're talking about how it impacts everybody's experience through the shopping it, understanding what you're buying. Once you buy it, understanding what you're covered. And then once you actually, if you were to have a claim, defining what a claim is, because you've defined a claim with us isn't just a fire or something happening within the home. It could be, hey, it was just living in the home. I laid my curling iron down. So I think that's a big deal. And if I'm an owner operator right now and I'm listening to the show, I think it's worth a conversation with you just to explore, hey, can you come in and look at my properties? How often do people shop insurance?
Oh gosh. Very, very often. The majority of, I would say when I say very often, I think they're looking. So the SFR world, within that, what we touched on, that busy day-to-day life, right? Sometimes it can be tough to make the decision to implement something new. Because it's that firsthand, and because it's a big change. You get accustomed to doing things a certain way. So even if something gave you time, money, and all that, it's tough to change. So companies across the country, a lot of them get it, right? They know they need it, but it's the aspect of actually doing it and making that change that is scary. Because I've been a part of a property management company when I was there who changed software. I mean, you want to gouge your eyes out with like a Sarai knife or something. I mean, it takes so long. Data doesn't transfer and all of that. But this is not like that. It's just not. And what we do is, all these team members that I talked about, so we monitor everything. Another thing I saw, like working for a property management company, was residents can be sneaky. They're smart, they're savvy. So you require renter's insurance as a property management company, and they get it, and they show you proof that they have it. And 30 to 60 days later, they cancel it. Because why would they want to pay that $20 a month? They don't need it. Nothing's ever going to happen, right? Well, when you work with us, we do all the monitoring, all the tracking. So we know immediately when that property is not covered, and we can force place a policy on that resident, on that property. And it's actually backdated. That's not the right word, but I forget what it is, to where it never lapses in coverage. So we're doing all of that. Nobody at your office has to sit there and be like, gosh, let me call.
So if they let it lapse and then let me buy, you caught it, you can backdate it, charge them for it. And then there's essentially no lapse in coverage. So the property was covered if, lo and behold, you discover something later, the hot water heater or something, I don't know if that's a coverable expense, but something happened later. There was damage, or do you have a time period? There's not a loophole to be like, oh, we're not covering you. Was a lapse in insurance. We've all experienced, I experienced that in my 20s because I used to let my car insurance lapse all the time.
Yeah.
But why is it important that residents protection and operator protection both are considered? Like what kind of impact can that have then? I know we talk about the frustration of just having to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with a situation that happens within a property, and like it is horrible when something like that happens. There's suffering that has truly occurred in some of these properties, and the resident it was an accident, right? It's not something they've intentionally done. Suffering is hard to deal with. We get that part. But why is it so important from a just an operations, asset protection, making sure your asset is protected, peace of mind so you're not getting sued or, all the things? Why is it so important for both the resident and the operator? Why does that both matter so much?
Well, we've touched on the resident experience, and it's the same with the property management company, right? We're doing all the work for you. Everything. We also integrate with most of the softwares, so it makes implementation very easy, invoicing efficient, simplistic, and look, at the end of 2024. Blackstone chose a premium, right? So we're backed by Blackstone too.
They own absolute assets out there, so they understand how to protect their investment. So as
we have on the single family, sorry, Yvonne, single family and multifamily, we do both. By the way,
as a book for multifamily,
BTR and vacation.
So pad split,
and we have over 3 million doors.
Wow.
We have policies on, so that are active. So, it's not a small It's not a small company. And another aspect to having someone, not just Blackstone, but somebody invest in us is we are able to be on the forefront of like innovation within the space, right? We're always talking about, again, we stay in our lane. I'm not going to start offering auto insurance tomorrow or, sell cups or something. But like you're going to, within the renters insurance and liability space, develop new products, new types of policies that are really kind of flowing with the innovation and the technology of the industry, right? We're able to stay a step ahead of that. And it
Well, and
really allows.
we're innovating, you know, as especially right now with the current EO on the table, we're talking about, affordability, but that rental properties are an asset class in high demand. Single family rentals are a high demand product that the consumer wants. And I think the more we have demand in any product, whether it be coffee, cell phones, whatever, you see innovation and these products evolve to meet the need. I think the American dream has changed. It's not my decision what the American dream is for you or for me or my son or your kids. But I think that we all have choice and all of our lives look a little bit different. And so I think we're going to see a lot of products evolve over this next period of time. And that's exactly what I've seen Blackstone do, right? They get involved in an industry because they've probably recognized that this industry is going to evolve and there's going to be demand around products and to deliver on products. And you guys are laser focused in insurance. So what else in insurance? I mean, I've heard there's some companies emerging out there around losing your job, right? Isn't that a real world problem right now? Is there's a lot of people unemployed, a lot of people losing their jobs. Could there be an insurance policy that impacts that? Or, could you guys be offering other insurances that impact the resident experience? And then giving peace of mind to the owner operator that if your resident were to lose their job, maybe they could be insured. So who knows what the innovation is going to be out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure if we do this in six more months, I'm sure I'll be able to speak a little bit more on those because I know there's some products in those categories that we're working on.
There you go.
But at the end of the day, it's what we do is customizable, right? Whether you have 50 or 100 properties or you have 50,000, institutional type corporation, we customize our products, our policies to adhere to whatever you require in your lease and how your company operates. So, we're pretty nimble. Of course, with insurance, is black and white.
Sure.
How we're able to offer it is how you need it. I can work with, and our MSA, like our agreement, 100% non-binding, if that's crazy.
Wait, MSA, you mean? Sorry, I don't know it.
Like our like master agreement.
Customer services. Oh, like MSA master.
Yeah. So if you want to quote sign up with ePremium, right? You're not obligated to pay a certain amount of money. You're not obligated to a start date. You're not obligated to have to partner with us for 5 years. It's just, but like real estate, when you're working with an insurance and you're agreeing to sell insurance or offer insurance, you do have to have a binding agreement, obviously. But or agreement in place, but ours is not, it's not binding. So it's really, to use an insurance term, it's pretty risk-free to like give us a chance, and it's simple to implement, hatch all that. So yeah, it's like, give it a shot, and you don't have to do everything all in one. Again, back to the customization, if you're like, we have this and it works great. I'd love to have like an HO4 offering for our residents when they move in, like to add to that resident experience. Sure, we can do just that, or we can do just liability. And there's a revenue opportunity for the property management company within the HO4 program. within the liability program. And if anyone in your company carries an insurance license, you can be a sub producer and actually earn commission off all policies. So aside from being compliant, doing all the tracking and monitoring, having best in class services, products, people, all the things, being laser focused on this industry, I mean, it's a revenue generator for the companies, period. And if
You should empower an employee within your organization to be an expert on this. Like they could specialize in something like this. So yes, it can generate revenue. So that impacts NOI. But it also NOI is turnover with your employees or frustrated employees. That's probably one of the biggest costs in general of your employees saying, I don't really care anymore, or frustration and I don't have enough hours in the day, or actually really caring and not having enough time or energy to do something right. There's a lot of people who care, want to be able to do something and do it accurately, do it right, and deliver because they have pride and their own personal work ethic and deliverable is on the line. Like I care about that, me and my brand and who I am, showing up with, as an employer, those two things have to align as well. So I think that can cause.
100%. Yeah. And it means a lot to me for someone to, trust me and my service offerings, So I really I work very hard to live up to, to create realistic expectations and live up to those expectations. And, working for someone like ePremium, they do too.
Well, let's face it, you have a reputation in this industry and, sometimes we move jobs, right? We move from one company to another company. It's really important that when we make moves to different organizations within the space, it's important that we don't just go over here. Like I didn't go over to Palisade and just start selling a new product and didn't know anything about it, right? Like vetted Palisade. I knew what I brought to the table for Palisade, maybe even a little bit more than what Palisade was bringing me, but there was a shared exchange of value, right? I'm bringing my network, I'm bringing my brand, my connections. I take that very seriously because I'm not just going to bring any product or service to these relationships that I've built over the years. I don't refer in just anybody into these clients. So I know you are the same way, and you wouldn't go and work for an organization and run the risk of impacting your own reputation and your own brand in the industry either.
Yeah. So I echo that verbatim, and I've been able to offer several different services for several different companies to this industry, and every single one of them, I feel very strongly about. Whether you grow out of the role or you find a new opportunity and you pivot, it doesn't mean that those are company did not right, that they didn't have a good service offering. If someone doesn't, I'm not gonna, these property management companies, they work way too hard, and I way too much about them to offer them something that's going to jeopardize their business.
100%. So, I did have a question. So, can a resident buy insurance through you directly, or do they have to for an owner operator? Okay, so there's.
I mean, they can, but it's
that's not what you focus on. But if I was like, oh, renters insurance, went to Google and typed in renters insurance, this is an option, and I can go direct. I don't have to get it through the owner operator,
right. So if you
unless they were
correct, if you rent a property also, and that property is not managed by anybody, right? Maybe it's just you just have a landlord.
Yeah,
they don't use a property management company. Yeah, you can just go to ePremiumInsurance.com and their insurance agent. Yep, you just get your own insurance, and you still have the same level of customer service and that kind of thing. Somebody to walk you through the claims and phone numbers to call, and back to the customization too. Like the majority of I've had so many different um, products, policies. Every company is different, right? Some people are like, we really need to add bed bug remediation. We really need animal liability, and that kind of thing. And like all of the renter's insurance, that the resident insurance, it all comes with an element of ALE, which is additional living expense, right? Because if something happens and they are out of their home, or their half of their house is burned down, or just inhabitable, I guess is the word.
Yeah, then you're using in a hotel and eating out the thing.
There's a percentage of that policy amount, yeah, that's allotted for additional living expense. So they're able to go and reside somewhere else temporarily, with that, with that policy, which is, it really alleviates, because, those of us who have kids and stuff, or you're on, single moms who are on one income, something happens and you have to go and spend 2 weeks in a hotel or something, that can be pretty financially devastating. So
they say that and I've never been on the leasing side. I've never worked in that side of the business, but what I hear every expert say, what I've heard Jackie Lee say, what I've heard you say, what I've heard, like, people I look up to, Colleen Yeager, major operators, state is that trust from the get-go impacts renewal. Right? And then anything that happens in between there, it could literally be during the signing of a lease where you lose the trust, you never regain it. And so going the extra mile and explaining I think being thorough and letting people understand what their options are, and letting experienced leaders who are laser focused in this space, a trusted insurance provider like ePremium, only reassures the fact that you're going to get your relationship started with your resident off on the right foot.
yeah.
And avoid misalignment between the property manager, an owner operator, and a resident. That's just unnecessary friction. You can just completely detour, take a detour,
Yeah.
and like control the things you can control. And that is your insurance offering. And it doesn't cost you anything more. As a matter of fact, it may actually impact NOI in a positive way. And it doesn't cost anything to explore this. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, Tanya, if there's an operator, an investor, or a property manager out there listening to this episode, what's one thing you want them to take away today? If there's one thing they take away, what is that? It's like, get in touch. It's customizable, right? Like, it doesn't cost anything to explore what your options are as an owner operator or property manager.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if I could, I would just say, trust me. Trust me enough to, let's have a conversation, and let me allow our team to show you why it's best in class, right? Why we are who we are, and why we focus on what we focus on.
And what also that may want to ask their existing insurance, they may just end up uncovering something that wasn't addressed when they bought their insurance. So you could probably equip them to say, hey, what questions should you should be asking your current insurance provider these questions. And so that shift.
Absolutely.
No,
And I'm not here. Look, if someone's got a partner that they've used forever and they don't have any issues, I'm not saying, uproot everything and, you have to use us or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, you need to understand, does your resident just have contents coverage within a liability policy, or do they have a true HO4 renters insurance programs? What kind of endorsements are included on those policies? Are they enhanced? Um, how are their claims? And do they have, some of these softwares, when you're just like opting in, you have like a property management software, and the resident's just opting in for that insurance program, right? When they're getting help from a chatbot, you know? Um, things like that. Like, who is helping your resident in your resident's worst crisis? Do you want that to be a chatbot?
Mm-mm.
Or do you want that to be somebody
But we
that
want to implement chats in other area of our business so we can free up humans for those conversations.
absolutely. I have nothing against chatbots or AI or automation in any way. But when you're in your social crisis and you're holding your baby and your floor is all, you
No.
want to talk to somebody who's trained to help you. And you as a property management company, if you take something away from here, know that like we've got you. We're going to alleviate your team from handling insurance so that they can do what they're trained to do. Because you release your operations.
Your insurance agent.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All day.
So, we've come to my favorite part of this episode, and that's called the lightning round. So I'm going to rapid fire some questions to you. And then they're just quick answers. So one misconception about insurance in SFR.
That it's costly.
That is costly. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a big misconception because it's not. It's a revenue generator.
Yep. On every policy.
On every policy. So one thing operators should review this quarter.
Their claims.
Their claims. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like how many claims? How long did it take? Because our team, the claims process is pretty speedy.
Nice. One leadership habit you refuse to compromise on.
Ooh.
I know.
I'd say empowering I share information, but I empower others to actually make the decision.
Yeah. Share your insights, share your thoughts. I love that. Another one for me is vulnerability. Like lead with vulnerability. You don't have to have all the answers. And when you don't say, you know what, I don't know, we're going to do this together. Let's figure it out. And that's empowerment too, right? Like, I don't know. Because it gives the other person that opportunity to say, well, I don't know either. Well, let's do it together. One piece of advice for women building careers in SFR. I mean, we had to ask a ladies question.
Yeah. Remain decisive.
Yeah, don't let anyone
Don't second guess your decision.
Don't second guess yourself. I love that. It's so valid. Tanya, thank you for bringing your full perspective to this conversation, not just like where you are today, but from all the seats you held across this industry. This conversation is such an important reminder that protecting NOI isn't just about growth or scale, and it's about infrastructure. It's like the foundational pieces that really drive success in property management, or owner, or if you're an owner. It minimizes risk and making thoughtful decisions that impact not only the operator and the investors, but the resident too. And I think that's where we're being called in this industry is to, look, we've dropped the ball on resident experience. I don't think anyone's sugarcoating that. This is an area that if you truly care about resident experience, double down, double click, right? Get in it. Really, you don't have to become the expert because Tanya and her team are the experts. Let them walk you through it and take that burden off of you. So before we wrap up, for anyone listening and who this resonated with, what's the best place for them to connect with you and learn more?
Just reach out on LinkedIn. Send me a message on LinkedIn. They can send me an email. It's pretty simple. It's tanya.odell@epremium.com.
Nice. Or you can go to EverResiMedia or EverResi.com in your email.
And go to EverResi. Love that.
On our beautiful new website. So LinkedIn or EverResi.com, go to the talent page because she is an amazing talent here at EverResiMedia. So a special thank you to our sponsor, Palisade Wall Panel and Shower Systems, trusted across SFR and BTR portfolios for faster installs, cleaner turns, and long-term durability. Palisade helps operators protect NOI while improving the resident experience. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please make sure click above on subscribe to Inside the Vendor Network, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and coming to Instagram soon. So share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're a property manager, I feel like you needed to hear this one. I am your host, Yovonne Kenny, and we'll see you next time on Inside the Vendor Network, an EverResi original series. Thank you. And Tanya, looking forward to having you back one day and talking about some of those products coming in the future.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate you having me today.
Love it. Thank you and have a great day, Tanya.
Bye, guys.